Hi there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from whatever time you're getting to see this video. Always decided, yeah. So we began a series talks about dear teens, mom, present and future. And we have been writing a letter to you, and today is the part three. Part one, we said every teen's mom, future or present, should pray for their teenager. And then part two, we said, while you pray for them in part one, teach them how to pray, and then teach them how to pray for themselves. And then most importantly, we also talked about teach them to personally know the Lord. See, it will do you a lot of good, and it will give you the peace of mind, and you will give them the edge that they need in life. So number four and number part three of a letter to the dear mom, dear teens mom, or the dear teens dad, or the dear teens parent is this: be a better person, be a person of principles, yes, be a person of integrity, be a person of great standard, be a person that has certain level of integrity, right? So why are we saying that? You're wondering why. How does that have to do with your kids or your teenagers, right? Every child, teenager, adult, in any capacity that they are, they grow faster by what they see. You are. We're going to talk about you being a role model to them, but let's talk about you. You see, if you learn how to be a teen mom early, what are the guarantees that those principles that you learned early will be applied to your children or your teenagers when you are not a mom? What are the chances that they may not work, or what are the chances that they will work? Being a better person that you should be enhances the life of your teenager. The principles that you have will intentionally rub off on them. The characters that you have will intentionally rub off on them. Yes, there are children or teenagers who will grow up and they'll become rebellious. It will be that you did your part, and the decisions to be better is now on them. So before we go to other things I want to talk about, I'm talking to you now, dear teens parent. Be a better person. Don't be one that is comfortable lying. Your kids know that you're lying, and they will lie to you too. Their ability to lie to you would be more strengthened because they've seen you lie. So you say, don't steal, don't cheat at work, at your workplace. Don't do things that will hurt your reputation at home with your children, because the testimonies that they have about you would easily become their testimonies. So be a better person. Yes, you. If it's possible, don't just tell your kids to go to bed at a particular time. You also have a time you go to bed. Have a time you wake up as much as they have a time they wake up. You know, a lot of mistake that a lot of parents make is we're trying to make our children do things that we think and we're sure that is good for them, but they don't understand why we're not doing the same thing. Now, we may not be able to do exactly what they are doing because of where we are and where they are, but you see, our life can be a precedent with which they can work on their own life. So if I tell my child that Thursday 5 p.m. every day, once we shut down for the day, is family reading, and I tell them carry your book and read, and I'm pressing my phone, watching on a video or doing one or two things, it gives them the wrong signal. It's telling them that when they become parents too, they can do the same to their kids. And I have seen people say that, don't worry, when I marry, when I get birth to children, I would see my mommy did to me, I'm going to do it to my children. It doesn't make sense. So if you tell them that light out by 8 p.m. for you, light out by for me by 10 a.m., 10 p.m., it means that you are setting standards and principles that they are seeing and that will be easy for them to become. So, dear dad, dear mom of a teenager, present or future, be a better person. Have principles that guide your life. Have cultures that you live by. Have routines that guide your day. Your teenagers will become all that they should be, not just because you are instructing them, but because you are doing, and you are because you have become and you are doing. You know, my pastor will always say there's a being before there's a doing. If you try to do before you become, it will be error. But when you have already become, it's easy to just do. So yes, for your sake, be a better person. For the sake of your teenage children, be a better person. For the sake of your spouse, be a better person. So it will go a long way beyond you that you are a good person. Your teenage children are learning, and fastly so. what they are saying you do. They somehow you think it's just only to give them instruction. It doesn't end there. When you give them instruction, they see how you live after you give them instruction. Don't say to them that, I'm the parent here. Whatever I tells you goes. You're very correct. But the truth is, you don't want to raise mentally bruised children. You don't want to raise children who believe that the things that they did to them, good or bad, it is their job to do it to their own children. And their own children feels like they have to do it to their children. My pastor gave us a story, and then I will stop here. I don't even. I think my pastor gave us a story. I don't know if my pastor gave us a story, but I know there was a story I heard somehow that said that there's a family that every time they cook, they always cut out the head of the fish before they cook and all that. And so generations, okay, I think I was listening to a podcast, not my pastor that said it. I know who said it now. And then if the pastor said that, there was a podcast I came across. I said that for generations has gone, and every time any woman in that family is cooking, they always cut out the head. So somebody took the initiative to ask their mom, mom, why people cut out the head of the fish when you want to fry it or want to put it inside soup? She said she does not know. Let them ask her mom, which is the children's grandma. They began to inquire way back, and they discovered that the reason why the grandma did it like that was because the fry pan that they had was small. So because the fry pan is small, it can't contain the whole fish, or it cannot contain a bigger portion of the fish. They have to cut it out. See, imagine the ignorance that they have had to live by without really knowing the reason for doing things. So what we are transcend beyond us to our teenage children, and them to their teenage children, and their children to their teenage children. So if you be a better person as a parent, set principles, have cultures, have discipline, have character, it is easier for your teenage children to become. I'll stop here. I'll see you next week Friday. We're taking in hot and deeper. We'll talk about another thing, which is part 4. So as a letter to dear teens parents, present or future. For now is bye-bye.